Hello everybody and welcome to another video. So today we're going to be talking about Age of Sigmar and its problem, because it does have a problem and it's not well liked. So yeah, we're talking about Age of Sigmar, and one of the things that has definitely come apparent to me with my Zero to Hero challenge and building up my Skaven army and list writing and everything else is AOS has an issue. Now, I just want to just do a quick disclaimer straight away that I actually quite like 4th edition. It is actually a fun game. It's a fun system. There are certain elements of the system that I really enjoy. I like the reaction-based sort of elements of it. This thing here is probably one of the best parts about Age of Sigmar, and I really wish Games Workshop would bring this format into 40k, because I really love this. The General's Handbooks are brilliant. But one of the things that Age of Sigmar has is a problem, a very big problem, and it's probably one of the most one of the easiest things to explain. The biggest problem Age of Sigmar has right now is list writing, the army construction as a whole. Now, if you remember, if you're new to Age of Sigmar and you don't remember how it worked, back in 1st, 2nd and 3rd edition, you basically had a chart. It was kind of like an old school force organization chart. If you played at 2,000 point games, you could have no more than 6 heroes. You had to have a minimum of 3 battle line units. You could have no more than 4 monsters or behemoth units and no more than 4 war machines. You could only have 3 endless spells, and that was it, right? Anything else outside of that, that was your core of how you built your army. That worked really, really well. It was really simple. It was kind of freeing. You had a lot more options. You could pick and choose which heroes you wanted in your army. There were battalions which allowed you to group up these models into like their own little war scrolls, and you could then sort of reduce the drops and everything else. So obviously AOS has a mechanic of like the first turn. So rather than roll a dice like 40k, you basically, the person who deploys first gets to go first. And then there is that sort of element in it. So you kind of would tailor your list, especially for competitive play, to try to get the least amount of drops in, so you could kind of guarantee the option of basically going first. And obviously there's a whole thing with the double turn and everything else. In 4th edition, they completely threw that system out of the window, and they kind of brought in the regiment system. And what that is it's kind of weird. It's basically, you can essentially take, I think it's no more than 4 regiments in your army, and you can, as an example, like I'll try to throw up a screenshot up on the thing of one of my army lists that I've got on the app. Now this is where the app actually is quite handy, because you can, get to see your army. So as you can see, I've got it there, but I'll kind of show an army. So basically, one of my regiments, I have basically I have Thanquol in a regiment leading it. He's my army general, and he allows me to take 4 units in a regiment rather than 3. And then I have another regiment with a warlock, which is all my warp blasters and storm fiends in it. So I have 2 regiments. So essentially I have a 2-drop army, basically. Now, the problem with it is it's pretty damn confusing. It isn't a simple system within regards to what they were trying to create. Like, they got rid of a very simple system and brought in a system, and it kind of isn't that simple. Now, 40k kind of has something similar, but not similar. Basically, 40k is you can have any number of heroes you want. I think it's a maximum of 6, maybe. You can only have 1 epic hero. You can have no more than 6 battle line units, and you can have no more than 3 of the same unit unless they're battle line, and that's basically it. And it's kind of like when I first seen it, I was like, ooh, that's going to be spam. But AOS has got a little bit more, what's the word? A little bit more restrictions on it. So as an example, right, if I was to take that battalion with Thanquil in it, and I'll just hit add a unit, in that battalion, I can only add other heroes such as a Claw Lord on a Beast, a Deathmaster, a Master Moulder, a Warlock Bombardier, a Warlock Engineer, and a Warlock Galvanier. Now, that's pretty simple to follow if you're using the app, because the app, you make your regiment, you click on add unit, you add the character, it has all of the list of the characters that you can use, you click in it, and then that list then changes to dictate what goes in with that hero. Okay, and then your units, you basically have all of the units that you can choose from, and they're broken down from infantry to monsters to war machines. Here's the problem. So as an example with my Skaven, I have my big Warp Blaster, the big machine on the wheels and the big Gatling gun. Now I can have only one of them per regiment, unless I take a Scryer hero leading that regiment. Then I can have multiple of them to a maximum of 3, I assume, in that regiment. All of this information that you need to work out what goes where is basically, or used to be, in the back of the book. Guess what's not there anymore? That's right. It's no longer there. You used to have the profiles on the back, and it used to give you your points. Now, that is up on the Warhammer community as a free download. So if you've just bought your book, and you are an absolute brand new player, and you have no idea where the points are, or anything like that, and you go and buy this, you've got a little code up here that basically tells you of your Battletome is supported with live points updates. That's fine. Points updates is cool, but the actual how you construct your army isn't in the Battletomes. So the information that you kind of need to work out which heroes can go in which regiments and which units can be taken with which heroes and etc to create your regiments isn't in this book. Now I understand points not being in the books. I understand that. Points change every couple of months and every balance sheet. I get this not having the points, but the actual which heroes and which units go into which regiments, which is basically your army construction rules, are not in these books. That is a problem, especially for new players who aren't used to how this system works. You're now having to go to a resource online to get that resource to find out how you can construct your army, or you're forced to use an app which you would then have to pay for to unlock all of the features. So if you don't pay or subscribe to Warhammer TV or the app, you can only build one army list at a time. Now, and then you can obviously use your code and unlock the book in your app and everything else. But that's beside the point. You shouldn't have to be forced to buy a book, to then go to a website and download the points, and then download the app to build an army. That is so stupid. And this is where the problem comes in, because it's not as simple as 40k. 40k is pretty simple in regards to build your army. You pick your heroes can join units. It kind of tells you on the war scrolls or the data slates, or however 40k call them, what units can be joined what unit. As a prime example, here's the Emperor's Children. Brand new codex, only just come out. More Emperor's Children content coming very, very soon. So as a prime example, let's have a little look. We've got a war scroll. We're going to go to a data slate. We're going to look at a Lord Exultant. A Lord Exultant, it literally tells you right here, a Lord Exultant leads the following units: an Infractors and Tormentors unit. Done. We go to Skaven, and we go to a Skaven hero model, and we go to a, let's see, a Grey Seer. It has absolutely nothing on this data slate, this war scroll, of who he goes with. Which regiment can he go into? Who can he be teamed up with? There's nothing. And that is one of the biggest fundamental problems. If the information was there readily available in the book, maybe it would be a little bit simpler to understand, but it isn't. And army construction isn't as simple as they made it out to be. There are a lot of things. And if you actually look at the sort of sheets, in fact, what I'll do is I'll throw it up and we can have a little look at it. So here we are, the Slaves to Darkness. We're going to use these as an example because it's the first one that I scrolled onto. So you have all of these things, this information here, regardless of the point, this part, this column here, the points, regardless of that column, that's the only column that really kind of needs to be not be there and be in a separate thing or as a separate sheet. But the rest of the information is incredibly important when it comes to army construction. So, Abrax, the Spear of the Chosen, she can be in a Ruinous Champion at any Slaves to Darkness regiment. Okay, cool. And then the notes, there is none. But as a prime example, we have a Lord on a Draconic Mount. He can be in a 0-1 Ruinous Champion regiment, 0-1 Monsters, and any Warriors of Chaos. Okay, and then this hero can join any eligible regiment as a Ruinous Champion. So this hero can join Abrax in a regiment, basically. So all of this information isn't really well presented. Like, if you don't really understand how army construction works in AOS, and you read this document for the first time, you're going to be like, what am I looking at? What the hell is a Ruinous Champion? What is 0-1? What is that? What is the 0-1 monster for? What is all? And this is the problem with AOS. This is why army construction in AOS is absolute dog shit. Because it is just, they've tried to simplify it, and in a way they've confused it. If you are a new player reading this, like when I first got 4th edition and got the rule book and went through the rule book, I had to ask multiple questions to my friend Pete, who's literally the rules encyclopedia. How the hell does this work? Like, what? This doesn't make sense. Like, where do I get this from? The old system was better. Now, how can they fix this? Can it be fixed? Yes, it can. It's called one of these right here. Now, let's be honest. The only reason why you're going to be looking at anything like that and army construction is if you're playing match play type games, which is this, the General's Handbook. They could quite easily throw that system in the bin, bring a lot more simpler, easier, streamlined system, a little bit like 40k, and put it in this. You're going to be, if you're playing match play anyway, you're going to be buying one of these. This new one will be coming out at some point this year. And it'll be a yearly book that you'll play Age of Sigmar with right through to next year. This is where you put it. You don't need an FAQ. You don't need a download. You don't need to do anything stupid. You literally come up with a new army construction system, put it in this book, and leave it. Now, because open play or Path to Glory and narrative play, those aspects, they have their own construction. They have their own way of playing the game. The General's Handbook is where you want to go, because you want the narrative aspect to be a little bit more open and free for players to be able to jump into, where army construction for competitive play needs to be governed by this thing. And that's what they need to do. Personally, once you get the app, it comes a little bit easier, because you can click on the hero you want and then you'll have the options there already visually, which you can see. But you shouldn't have to be relying on an app to work out how the hell your army is built. 40k, I can go through it and just go, I want that hero, that hero, that hero, taking these units. A rule of 3 is across the board. Done. The old world, like, I thought the old world would have issues with people trying to build old lists, because in the old world you can only take so many of these heroes per 1,000 points. You have to have X percentage of points for your core and your special and your rares and your mercenaries. And basically, if you're playing a 2,000 point army, you work out what those percentages are, and then you basically put them in a little bracket at the top of your piece of paper, and you're like, right, heroes, I can have no more than 650 points core, 650 points done, that's my core done. I can have no more than X amount of points for this, and etc, etc, etc. Horus Heresy, for me, is the pinnacle of how to build an army. You have a force organization chart. You can have 2 slots for your characters. You have 6 slots for your troops. You have so many slots for your elites, so many slots for your fast attack, so many slots for your heavy support. You have a super heavy or a Lords of War slot, and you can have a fortification slot. And it's all there in a nice pretty picture, and you basically fill the holes and fill the gaps, and it's done. And there are multiple different detachments or force organization charts for different ways of playing the game, and it kind of tailors your army into certain typical ways. And then you have really cool sort of rites of war, which then allow you to tailor that even more. It is an elegant system that has worked for a long time. It's amazing, because that system is how 40k worked right up until 8th edition. And it worked really well. It worked in 2nd edition, it worked all the way through to 3rd to 7th edition, and it's working really well for the Horus Heresy. Age of Sigmar had an elegant system back in 1st, when the General's Handbook first come out, 2nd edition and 3rd edition. Now we have been given this weird, contrived, overcomplicated, but yet simple system which doesn't work. So for me, this needs to change, and the best way of doing it is by putting it in one of these. But anyway, that is the video. So if you agree, if you're a new player at Age of Sigmar, let me know in the comments below what you think. Like, let me know, like, are you having problems with list building? Are you having issues with trying to find out which information? Because the information isn't in the battle tomes, as we've just seen. And I imagine all of the rest of the battle tomes, like the Stormcast Eternals, the Iron Jaws, the Gits, and everything else, are also going to be the same. The points and the battle profiles are not going to be in there. They're going to be on that digital document. So let me know if you are a new player and how you're finding list building. And if you're a more seasoned competitive player, let me know what you think. You know, it'll be nice to know. For me personally, I think out of all of the issues that 4th edition does have, this is the biggest problem, because if a new player coming into the system can't build an army by simply looking at their book and building it, and not having to need at least 2 other resources to do it, then there's an issue. And the reason why I made this video is because I was speaking to Ben, Mr. Warhammer, and we were looking at his list, and we were like, can you do this? And we were like, how many units can go in your general's regiment? And we had to both go off and look at the app to work out what... That's stupid. We shouldn't have to go, hang on, wait a minute, how many units can go in that regiment compared to this regiment? And can I fit these units in there? No, I can't, because I can't do this because this hero doesn't go in. And yeah, it's absolutely stupid. It's just a very, very bad system. So anyway, let me know in the comments below what you think of it. And yeah, while you're there, hit the subscribe button, like the video, comment, all that good stuff. And we'll catch you in the next video. Goodbye. I will be definitely coming back later today for a little bit of live streaming for some more Ember's Children. Peace.